New York, December, first snowfall. New York City was blanketed in its first snow of the season. Gentle flakes descended, covering skyscrapers and bustling streets. Amidst the hurried crowd, a weary-looking middle-aged man walked slowly along the sidewalk. He wore a thick, worn coat with the collar pulled up, nearly hiding his face. His deep-set eyes reflected sorrow and loneliness. This was Ethan Cole, 40, co-founder of Veritas Corp., a leading global biotechnology company. 5 years prior, following his wife's sudden death, Ethan withdrew from all business activities, leaving the company to its executives. Since then, he lived in seclusion, avoiding the spotlight and media. But today, Ethan returned, not as a billionaire or founder, but as a janitor named Frank. He had meticulously planned, altering his appearance, identification, and even his voice to remain unrecognized. His goal wasn't to reclaim power, but to seek the truth, the genuine people in a society rife with deceit. Veritas Corp. Stood in the heart of Manhattan, a modern glass building with impressive architecture. Inside, operations ran smoothly and professionally. Employees dressed neatly, engrossed in work and meetings. No one paid attention to the new janitor, a hunched old man silently pushing a cleaning cart through the corridors. Ethan, now Frank, began his duties, mopping floors, cleaning restrooms, taking out trash, and other menial tasks. Daily, he observed how people interacted, especially their treatment of those in lower positions. He noticed the coldness, apathy, and sometimes contempt from those he once trusted. One chilly morning, while Ethan was shoveling snow outside the building, a young woman approached. She wore a thick coat, a wool scarf, and a knit hat covering her head. She paused, retrieved a pair of old wool gloves from her bag, and handed them to Ethan. "Sir, your hands look cold. Please use these. I have another pair at the office." Ethan was surprised, looking into her warm, sincere eyes, a sight he hadn't seen in a long time. He accepted the gloves, nodding in gratitude. "I'm Clara Monroe, from the administrative department. If you need anything, just let me know." From that day, Clara frequently greeted and conversed with Ethan. She shared stories about her work, life, and thoughts. Ethan listened, sensing her genuineness and kindness. He grew fond of Clara, not for her appearance or charm, but for her beautiful soul. The next day, Frank, or rather, Ethan, awoke on a folding bed in his small rented room in the Bronx, a place he chose to blend into ordinary life. The alarm rang at 4:30 a.m. It was still dark. He donned the faded gray uniform of Veritas Corp's janitorial staff, put on work gloves, and boarded the earliest subway train. On the train, no one noticed him. He sat quietly among immigrant workers and maintenance staff, people society often labels as invisible. They weren't executives or marketers. They cleaned floors, took out trash, fixed pipes, washed dishes, and they kept the city's wheels turning. "It's been a long time since I've seen such genuine faces," Ethan thought, feeling a bit lighter. Frank pushed his cleaning cart through the 5th-floor corridor, home to teams developing new products. Whenever the lab doors closed, he heard laughter and sarcastic remarks from some young researchers. Some called him Old Mop Man. Others didn't even look his way. In the 3rd-floor cafeteria, where Veritas employees had lunch, Ethan noticed an unspoken rule: certain tables for directors, others for administrative staff, and some for janitors. No one mentioned it, but glances, gestures, and distances made the divisions clear. Ethan noted every detail and felt a pang of sadness. However, not everyone was the same. One afternoon, while he was cleaning tables, Clara entered the cafeteria. She didn't sit with her office colleagues, but quietly moved to a corner where an elderly woman, Rosa, was eating her homemade lunch. Clara smiled, placing an apple and an energy bar on the table. "Please have these to fill up. I had extras," Clara said. Ethan watched from afar, unable to suppress a smile. In a place filled with silent competition, deceit, and people stepping over each other to climb up, Clara was a warm light. Gradually, through chance conversations with Clara in hallways, during elevator malfunctions, or while shoveling snow together in the evenings, Ethan learned more about her life. Clara had been the head nurse at a major hospital in Brooklyn. An accident occurred during her shift. A patient died, and she became the scapegoat for the hospital to evade responsibility. She was fired, disgraced, and lost all her honor. Clara quietly left the medical field, moved in with her ailing mother, and took an administrative job at Veritas to make ends meet. "It's not that I'm afraid of being a nurse. I'm afraid the system will crush me again," she said. Ethan was silent. He saw himself in her words. When society rewards the visible, but crushes the silent. One late evening, snow fell heavily outside Veritas. Ethan had just finished mopping the basement floor when Clara passed by, holding several folders. "Frank?" she called. He turned, slightly surprised. "Are you walking home?" "Yes, as usual," he replied in a deep voice. Clara opened her bag and took out a small paper bag. "These are some cookies I made. My mom always says those who do hard work should have something sweet. I thought you might need that." He accepted it, astonished. "Thank you, Clara." She just smiled and walked away, her hair tousled in the snowy wind. Ethan clutched the paper bag, not for the cookies, but because for the first time in years he felt kindness, without conditions. Back in his room, Ethan didn't turn on the lights. He sat silently in the dark, watching the snow fall outside the small window. His hand touched the wool gloves she had given him the week before. They were worn, a bit frayed, but warm. Perhaps I found a genuine person. For the first time in 5 years, Ethan's eyes welled up. Lucas Granger, the Deputy Chief Financial Officer of Veritas Corp., was one of the hand-picked stars. Sharp suit tailored in Italy, limited edition Hublot watch, and a confident gait that claimed every room he entered. He commanded a strange mix of admiration and fear among subordinates. Ethan had known Lucas back when the company was just a startup, then just a smart, ambitious young accountant. But now, Lucas was different, very different. In high-level meetings, Ethan secretly observed through a still active internal access channel, he began to piece things together. Lucas was siphoning large sums from the Employee Welfare Fund into a charity run by his cousin, an operation that was nothing more than money laundering front. What angered Ethan more than the money was the way Lucas preyed on young female employees, especially those struggling financially and dependent on the job to support their families. Everything happened behind closed doors, under a manipulative system of rewards and veiled threats. On Thursday afternoon, Clara received a private meeting request from Lucas. "Miss Monroe, Mr. Lucas would like to see you in Auxiliary Meeting Room 12A at 6 p.m. today for a performance review," the receptionist relayed. Clara frowned. "Performance review?" she thought. Why after hours, and why alone? At exactly 6 p.m. she arrived. The room was dimly lit. Lucas was the only one there. The door automatically locked behind her. "Good evening, Clara," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "What is this about?" she asked, steady. Lucas stood walking closer. "You're capable, dedicated. I want to help you advance at Veritas." "Thanks, but I believe my work speaks for itself." Lucas smirked. "Clara, don't be naive. Sometimes what really matters isn't in a resume, but in flexibility. Clara stepped back, voice firm. I came here for work, not this. Lucas's face darkened. Suit yourself. Just don't be surprised if a few irregularities start appearing in your record. Ethan happened to witness Clara exiting the room that day. Her face pale, eyes red, clutching her files tightly. Instinct told him something had happened. That night, instead of returning to his room, Ethan went back to the office, using a high-level access card as a founding shareholder, one no one knew he still had. He accessed the security footage for room 12A and rewound to Clara's meeting. There was no audio, but he saw Lucas's predatory eyes, saw him approach Clara, saw her body language, fear, withdrawal, resistance. Ethan slammed his fist on the control desk. His rage burned, but instead of confronting Lucas head-on, he chose method over impulse. He began gathering evidence. 3 days later, Clara received an email from HR. She was being placed on suspension for errors in the Employee Welfare Fund reports. She was stunned. The figures had been altered, clearly not by her. But no one believed her. No one dared to stand with a low-ranking administrative staffer. Clara sat alone on the bench behind the building. The New York air was growing colder. Rosa, the older janitor who worked the same shift as Frank, placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't cry, child. The world may forget good people, but the heavens don't. That evening, Frank, the old janitor, brought Clara a cup of hot tea. I don't know what happened, he said, but I believe you didn't do anything wrong. Clara forced a smile, eyes misty. Thanks, Frank. You might be the only one who still does. Frank looked into her eyes gently. Not the only one. Just the only one willing to say it out loud. Ethan knew he couldn't stay silent. He compiled every piece of evidence he had. Surveillance footage, internal report edit logs, bank statements linked to the fake charity, and emails containing Lucas's veiled threats. He sent it all to Veritas Corp's Independent Compliance Board, anonymously. He knew that if he moved too soon, Lucas might slip through. But if he chose the right moment and the right people, nothing would save him. On Monday morning, a surprising system-wide alert appeared on every employee's screen at Veritas Corp. Urgent notice. All personnel from the office, finance, admin, and technical divisions must attend an all-hands assembly at the main auditorium at 9 a.m. sharp. Attendance is mandatory. No one knew what was happening. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said the company was being sued. Others speculated mass layoffs. Lucas, dressed in a cobalt blue tailored suit, walked into the auditorium with his usual swagger, a half smirk on his face. He had no idea. The lights dimmed. The giant LED screen lit up. A deep, clear voice echoed from the speakers. Good morning. I am one of the co-founders of Veritas Corporation, and I have been among you, not on a high stage but beneath your feet. A video began playing. Footage showed the elderly janitor, Frank, mopping floors, handing tea to employees, standing quietly in a hallway as Lucas entered room 12A with Clara. The auditorium fell completely silent. A few people began recognizing the face, not Frank's, but Ethan Cole's. The side doors of the auditorium opened. Ethan stepped in. No janitor's uniform, no gloves, no wool hat, just a man standing tall in a long gray coat, with salt and pepper hair and steady eyes. Every gaze turned toward him. Some held their breath. Some teared up. Some panicked. Lucas jumped to his feet. Who the hell are you? What is this? Ethan didn't respond. He walked straight to the stage. I'm Ethan Cole, and I'm Frank, the man you all ignored, the man you assumed was invisible. Ethan turned the screen toward the audience. The slides began. Bank records show charity funds funneled to the Granger Aid Foundation. Registration documents naming Lucas's cousin as the legal owner. Logs showing Clara's reports were tampered with. Threatening emails from Lucas. A previous complaint by another female employee forced to resign under pressure. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lucas tried to leave his seat, but 2 security officers blocked his way. "Lucas Granger," one said firmly, "you are hereby suspended pending internal and legal investigation." Lucas shouted, "This is a setup. You can't do this. I'll sue." Ethan looked straight at him. "You've had 5 years to do the right thing. You didn't. Now you'll face the consequences." In the crowd, Clara stood frozen. Her face was pale. Frank, the man she had trusted, confided in, perhaps even begun to care for, was Ethan Cole, the company's founder, a former board member. The same man who had quietly cleaned her office when she was crying. Ethan met her gaze. He walked down the steps of the stage and approached her. "Clara," he said, voice low, "I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. I never meant to test you. I just wanted to see who would see the person, not the title." Clara was speechless. "I don't know how to feel," she whispered. "Grateful? Or betrayed?" Ethan nodded gently. "I understand. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know it was because of you that I remembered why I built this company." Before leaving the stage, Ethan spoke one final sentence. "This company isn't just about technology. It's about people. From today forward, every internal policy will be re-examined, and every voice of kindness will be heard, even if it comes from someone carrying a broom." The entire auditorium rose in applause. Not polite applause, but genuine, heartfelt applause. For truth, courage, and justice. After the fateful assembly, Ethan Cole vanished from Veritas Corp as quietly as he had appeared. No more directive emails. No further trace of the founder. No one knew where he went. Some rumors claimed he had sold his shares and left the country. Others said he had retreated to a countryside estate in Vermont. Clara didn't try to find him. She respected Ethan's decision, and, truthfully, she wasn't ready to process everything she felt. She needed time. 1 month later, Veritas Corp announced the creation of the Ethan Cole Internal Humanitarian Fund, dedicated to supporting employees facing financial, medical, or family hardship. The person nominated to lead it was Clara Monroe. No one objected. To the entire company, Clara had become a symbol of integrity and living proof that kindness is not weakness. Clara accepted, with one condition: "I want full authority to approve urgent cases. No finance department oversight." The board agreed. In her first month, Clara helped a security guard pay for his daughter's treatment. In the second, she assisted a single mother in finding housing after a fire. She worked quietly, no cameras, no press, just as Frank once had for her. In March, Clara was invited to join a medical volunteer program in a Native American community in Montana. Though no longer a practicing nurse, she accepted. It was a way to return to what once stirred her soul: helping people. She and a team of volunteers traveled to a remote town called Wolf Creek, nestled deep in the pine forests and snow-covered mountains. There, each volunteer was assigned to stay with local hosts. Clara was placed with a small group restoring a community center. On the first afternoon, she stepped into a simple wooden cabin and froze. The man, cutting wood on the porch, looked up. A flannel shirt, a dusty scarf, hands covered in sawdust. None of it could hide the familiarity in his eyes. Ethan. They stood silently, staring at each other for a few long seconds. Then Ethan smiled. "Hello, Clara." Clara nodded slightly. I'm not surprised that you ended up in a place like this. Much quieter than Manhattan, he said. You gave up the company? Didn't give it up, Ethan replied. Just left it to someone who might use it better than I did. Clara sat on the porch step, snowflakes landing on her hair. She looked up at him. You're not going to apologize anymore? Ethan sat beside her. I didn't come here for forgiveness. I came because there are still things I need to make peace with. For myself. And, if possible, with you. Clara was quiet. A soft wind passed between them. Then she said, barely above a whisper, You don't have to pretend anymore. I liked Frank because he was real. And now I'm starting to understand Ethan because he did what few would. He listened without needing to be praised. Ethan looked at her. There was no founder's pride in his eyes now, no sharpness, no lingering sadness. Just a man, simple, honest, hoping to be trusted. He extended a hand, not demanding. This time, I didn't come to disappear. I came to begin a new chapter, with someone who saw the human in me back when I was just a janitor. Clara placed her hand in his. The snow kept falling, on the cabin roofs, on the pine trees, and on the shoulders of two people who had finally found each other. Not through wealth, not through power, but through the quietest things left in this world: trust, respect, and love.